What's going on, Warriors? It's your boy, Lionheart, and um, ah, oh boy. Now this is going to be a good one. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I need this. I need this. Now, I love Final Fantasy VII. I love that game. That game did so much for me as a kid growing up. So much for me. You got to remember, when Final Fantasy VII came out, I was still in school, bro. I got a PlayStation 1 and well, I didn't get Final Fantasy VII when it first came out. I think I got it like maybe a year or almost 2 years after it had come out, but it might as well have been a brand new game for me. I love that game, but there were elements of that game that I absolutely loathed. I just could not stand how Cloud was a puppet for Sephiroth at Sephiroth's whim. And it was only during Disc 3 that Cloud was able to break free of Sephiroth and properly fight against him. The fact that Aerith died in Disc 2. Oh my. The worst in the entire video games of my life. The one thing I absolutely cannot stand, I dislike the most out of any video game ever in my life existence is the fact that Aerith died. That one, to this day, thinking about it, makes me so mad. Now, this was before internet, where I didn't know whether I was doing something wrong or doing something, I don't know. I reset, because I did not save for a very long time, might I add. When Aerith died, I switched the game off. Because I saw I couldn't go back. And I was like, oh, but I haven't saved for quite a while. But I did it. Replayed it. Still she died. And I was pissed. Because my last save file, this is from years ago and I still remember. What I had to do, because what I was doing is I was saving on top of a save. So essentially I literally only had one save file for Final Fantasy VII. So essentially, if I had one save, there's no way I had a second save that I could go back to. So I had to start the game all over again. And I went through that game with a fine-tooth comb to get a conclusion where Aerith didn't die, she died again. And you know what? I gave up. I actually stopped playing Final Fantasy VII for a long time, actually. I think I stopped playing that game for almost a year after that. Like, I was so mad about that. I was that upset about Aerith dying. I stopped playing that game, period. And I started playing Resident Evil 1. I started playing Resident Evil 1. But I had the Japanese version of Resident Evil 1. And so I was stuck in that game for months because all the puzzles were in Japanese. I had a chipped PlayStation 1. Eventually, I did make my way back to Final Fantasy VII. And I just accepted the fact that I couldn't save that character, Aerith, and I was mad as hell about it. In Final Fantasy Rebirth, we are getting the do-over, people. Oh my goodness. Cloud is free of Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII Remake. He's free of Sephiroth already. So we are going to get a full Final Fantasy VII Rebirth where Cloud's not a puppet. And we have the opportunity to save Aerith. She must not die. I will not accept that game if she dies. If we cannot save her, or we do not have the option to save her, I will not accept that game. That game will be a fail to me if she dies. If she dies, fine. But if there's a way to save her, and they don't give us the option, we're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have a massive problem. And Zack, do we have an opportunity to save Zack? Did the events of Final Fantasy VII Remake change the past? Things are different. And Zack is still alive? I don't even want to think about it. All this stuff is very emotional to me, man. Because you got to understand, Final Fantasy VII has a hold of me. Almost like Spider-Man and the X-Men. You know, I'm part of that generation that got early. Final Fantasy VII, X-Men, Spider-Man, they got me when I was young. So I'm brainwashed by a lot of that stuff. So I'm hella sentimental about any of it. That's why when I hear the Final Fantasy VII music of the slums, of that thingy, it gets me. Even right now, thinking about it, I feel if I think about it too much, you'll see tears. So I'm actually blocking the thought from my brain right now. It's a weird feeling, man. I remember when I played Final Fantasy VII Remake and I heard that music. I'm fine. Oh my god. Oh, bro. That game is a masterpiece, bro. It manipulates your feelings, your emotions. That's why Aerith, Tifa, Barrett, Cloud, Nanaki, Sid, Vincent, Yuffie, they mean so much to me. I'm so happy. We're going to get Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And you have to remember, this game is Disc 2. Disc 2 is where everything goes off. Everything. When you get to fight, obtain summons, the big adventure, you get characters, all the characters we are going to get. We are going to meet Vince. We have to remember, in this game, we are going to meet Vincent, Sid. We've already met Nanaki and Luffy. Well, I don't know because I haven't played Integrate. I don't know if Luffy has met Cloud. Yes, I don't really know too much. But there are certain elements in that game that's coming that are going to be firsts. Oh yeah, we got like a lot of the summons in Final Fantasy 7 because they did remake, because they did change a lot. So there's a lot of things that we, in terms of growth and the adventure of Final Fantasy 7 in Disc 2, which was the big adventure disc. Like, it was like a crazy, mad Hollywood blockbuster adventure. Like, the craziness, the adventure that awaits us in Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is going to be on a different level. Look what they did with Final Fantasy Remake. That game is incredible. Already, what happened in Final Fantasy 7 Disc 1 was already amazing. Amazing. They took it to another level. They turned that thing into the single most epic adventure ever. And you have to remember, we got to the end of the highway in Final Fantasy 7. And that was the exact same place that this one ended in the original Final Fantasy. And they did confirm that the whole remake is going to be like this whole Final Fantasy 7 remake that they're doing, and Rebirth, like the whole remake, it's going to be 3 games. They haven't announced the 3rd game. I'm excited. The 3 most important factors: Zack and Aerith. Potentially, we could see a timeline where Zack is alive and maybe play it or experience it. Or Zack is still alive. If Zack is still alive, let me stop. I don't want to raise my hopes up. So, maybe Zack, maybe he's alive. And Aerith, the most important, we can save Aerith. I know I'm going to need so many tissue papers to wipe the tears when I see Aerith. If we save Aerith, bro, oh, I'm gonna lose it. If we save Aerith, there's no way I'm gonna put a reaction to that. There's no way. It'll be too embarrassing. It'll be too embarrassing. I can't wait to see people's reactions to Aerith being saved, where we change the future and save Aerith. I need it. I need that conclusion. I need that to come into reality. It's important. Mad important. Everything else is going to be the most incredible cherry on top of the cake. I love Square Enix for this. The fact that they're giving us this is incredible. And you got to remember, just the other day, like not even 10 days ago, they gave us Final Fantasy 16 Dominance trailer, which, let's be honest, wasn't as good as the Awakening trailer, but it still was incredible revelations. They showed the system of that game, they showed the summons, they showed more of the story of the characters, and the game does look absolutely incredible. But then you have Final Fantasy 7, and that game is literally unbeatable. Its legacy, that it is imprinted on a generation of kids that are now adults. Crazy. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it, bro. What are they going to change? Because I could never have foreseen Final Fantasy Remake. What they did with Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I could never have imagined they would have been so creative. They would have such good storytelling, in depth, deep storytelling and execution. They didn't give a damn about budget in Final Fantasy VII Remake. They didn't care about budget, bro. You clearly see in the production of that game. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm excited. I'm excited. And you saw the visual, which I'm sure was a memory, like one of Cloud's fake memories. Or no, because Cloud was there. But you saw a scene where you saw Cloud walking with Sephiroth. That was actually Zack. And Cloud was behind them as an infantryman. But the fact that you saw that, I wonder if we're going to get the scene where you play with Sephiroth and he kills the dragon. And then you just get to see how OP Sephiroth was back then. Oh, do you remember that? In Final Fantasy VII, and Sephiroth kills a dragon on his own. On his own. It was. If this game is open world, bro, I don't want to say this stuff because I'm just building my hopes up. But I feel like I can say that because I don't feel like they will let me down. And the reason I say I don't feel like it'll let me down is because they exceeded my expectation of Final Fantasy VII Remake 20-fold, 30-fold. Beyond my imagination, they exceeded my expectation of what they could do with Final Fantasy. Graphically, world, storytelling, pacing, the music, the emotion that game gave to me is too much, bro. It's too much. And I can't wait to hear the music and just see the world. And Sephiroth, because now Sephiroth, as it said in that trailer, what is his end game? Sephiroth knows the events of the original Final Fantasy VII. He knows. And he has helped us change the past so that the future can be written anew. Because he doesn't want to die. He doesn't want his end to be made. The same thing like we want Aerith back and maybe change what happened with Zack. He wants to change his fate. He wants to change his future from what happened to him in the ending of Final Fantasy VII. So, and I know Square Enix care. I know they care. So we're in for an they didn't rush this game. They didn't rush it at all. What are they doing? They are giving us the world, bro. The world. And we're going to take it. We're going to take it. That trailer was short, but it showed us all we needed to know. Cloud, walking with Sephiroth. Maybe they'll go into Nimblane. And then you saw like a little shot of Aerith praying. And then you saw the materia drop. You saw her praying. That was from the instant from when she got killed by Sephiroth. And then you saw Zack carrying Cloud. The two most important elements of Final Fantasy VII. And they put that in that trailer. That's why that trailer is short. But if you've played the original Final Fantasy VIIs and then you see that, it's incredible, man. And then it just finishes where you see Zack carrying Cloud, all beat up. And then you see Sector 7. Where it all began. You didn't see the infantryman. You didn't see the soldier confronting Cloud and Zack. You saw the industrial estates, Sector 7. As I say, I don't want to raise my hopes up. But that trailer made me emotional, bro. I think I must have watched that trailer about maybe 30, maybe 40 times. I've watched that trailer a lot. Because I'm just looking at the changes and Zack and Aerith, man. Zack and Aerith. Everybody's an amazing, important character. But you got to realise Zack, Aerith, Cloud, Sephiroth, especially Zack and Aerith, back in the day, they didn't get the respect and acknowledgement that they deserved. And now they're getting it, and it just makes me so happy, man. Because you remember, Zack was a secret character in Final Fantasy VII. You never even saw Zack if you didn't do the hidden... There was hidden story in Final Fantasy VII that you could easily have missed. That showed you Zack's existence. If you could go through the whole main game of Final Fantasy VII, doing side little hidden quests or whatever, you'd never find out about Sephiroth's mum. You'd never find out... You'd never even get Vincent. You would never have even known Zack existed in Final Fantasy VII if you didn't do... If you had to be so damned inquisitive in that game. And I was inquisitive. Like, for me, Final Fantasy VII, I mean, I hit 99 hours in, like, the first area. I don't even think I left the first area. I hit 99 hours in that game. Like, easy. I played that game. You have to understand, I played Final Fantasy VII for years. Not including the year break that I took from that game, because I was so pissed about Aerith. I played that game for at least 3 years. Like, played the game, played it for hours and hundreds of hours. Then I replayed it again, just because the game is incredible. Then I replayed it again to make a God file. And I even made notes of stuff that I found and things that I didn't complete. And I just had to look a little bit further, because I know once I get past a certain part, I can't go back. So something is in this area. Even Tifa, she had a super. What was her super called? I think it was called My Final Heaven, or something like that. You had to do a secret event in that game. And then in that event, you have Tifa's story. And then you had to go to a room, play a piano, and you had to play a musical score called something like Do You Remember Me? Or something like that. And you had to play that tune correctly. And there's no way to learn it. There was no information. You had to figure it out. And then something called drop in the piano, then you obtain it. And that's when, in the future, once you learn all of Tifa's supers, the last one is her final ultimate super. So you would even miss people's ultimate supers, their ultimate limit breaks, if you didn't do secret events. Bro, Final Fantasy VII, stop. Stop, man. That game, bro. That game, dude. That's what I'm saying. If you played the original Final Fantasy VII, looking at all this Final Fantasy VII stuff, Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary, it puts you in a special place, bro. it puts you mentally, emotionally, spiritually in a special place, bro. I'm there. I'm there, bro. So, can't wait. They do say it's coming out next winter. Next winter, that could mean anything. That could be the last day of December. And they could push it back. Which, to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind if they did. Because I want the absolute best game possible. No rushing whatsoever. They started on that game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, in 2019. After basically they finished making Final Fantasy Remake. So if you think about it, it's technically been in the making 2 years. By next year, it's going to be winter. It's going to be 3 years. Average development cycle for a game of this quality and such an incredibly talented studio and developers, 4-5 years. Game's going to be godly. It's going to be godly. And also, they must be working on the third game as well and building the assets for the third game and setting things up for it. Can't wait. So, Warriors, that was it. That was my thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I hope you watched my Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis and Final Fantasy VII Reunion discussion. We talked about those videos, those trailers that came out, and what we hope and pray for those games. And we're going to buy them all. We're going to support all of them. Right, I'd love to know your thoughts, Warriors. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. You know how much I appreciate you guys watching, supporting. I also want to hear your thoughts. And so, until my next video, take care, stay blessed, and I'll catch you Warriors in the next one. Laters.